Well, grand challenges going forward in this country regarding SoTL. Back in the day when we were first creating some kind of national network around this, a number of people believed it was important for our central granting agencies, SSHRC, NSERC, CIHR, others, to set aside money for SoTL research. In particular, SSHRC. SSHRC was the one we went after. We had conversations with people at SSHRC. And our success was marginal, and it continues to be. How this research is funded, as much as that sounds a bit mundane and highly political and sort of the kind of conversation we end up having all the time, I realize, but how this research gets funded will, I believe, go a long way to predicting the sustainability of SoTL. Others will say, well, you can fund it, but if you don't reward it at the institutional level, it will die out, and that's probably true as well. I've never been overly concerned about the idea of rewards. I think we are, as people in higher education, quite intrinsically driven. It's foolish to rely entirely on intrinsics, but it's there. And so I think there are people who, regardless of whether a particular piece of work that they got published ends up having a shining place on their CV, whether that happens or not, they'll still do the work. But on the grander scale, and for more people, we need tenure and promotion committees who understand what that work is, what that work does, and how that work sits on a CV that may be all about SoTL. It may only be partly about SoTL. It may be partly about SoTL and partly about botany, or about engineering, or about law, or whatever other discipline the person comes from. Those 2 points, the proper acknowledgement and understanding and rewarding of SoTL research at the institutional level and national funding for SoTL, are also, of course, very linked. We will have really taken a nice leap when someone at some institution is able to brag loud and proud about having nailed a fairly major grant from a national funding agency to do SoTL research. It's not like that's never happened, but it certainly isn't something that I heard of a great deal, and I want to.